Every breach has a story. Every leader has a strategy. Coming to you from St. Louis, this is the Professional CISO Show.
That's crazy.
Your backstage pass to the minds of the world's most influential security leaders.
What are going to be the dramatic impacts of AI?
Let's dive in with your host, David Malicoat.
Welcome, one and all, to the Professional CISO Show. I'm your host, David Malicoat. This show is an exploration of the topics necessary to transform the CISO role into that of a professional. All right, gang, we're here in St. Louis, number one, and wow, kicking off the tour. We already just had our first episode recorded. This is our second one. Very, very thrilled to have our guest today. But first, what I want to tell you is please like, follow, share. Best way to make sure you continue to get this great quality content. Hit that follow button on Spotify and Apple. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on LinkedIn. And of course, share us with a friend or colleague or a family member if they happen to be in this space or just are curious about cybersecurity. All right, get started with our guest today. Please welcome Zach Lewis.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Dave.
How's it going, Zach?
Oh, great, man.
It's a pleasure meeting you today. I know I pre-briefed a little bit, but getting to know you a little bit, I think our audience is going to be very happy with what we got coming.
I mean, we hope so.
We hope so. Yeah, we hope so. All right. So what I like to start off with every guest is I want the history, right? And it's I always like to have stories where people identify with the person talking, right? So if you could, with an emphasis on kind of key points when you discovered tech as maybe a younger Zach, all the way through to kind of where some points that were inflection points relative to maybe your security career, because I know you do both, which we'll talk about in a moment, CIO and CISO. So if you could talk us through your journey.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess it probably started when I was 9 or 10. We got our first computer at our house. It was a Gateway, with the white and the black spots, the cow logo around.
They need to bring that back, I think.
Yeah, Intel Pentium 4, and we had that, and I, gaming mostly as a kid, but at some point in there, I started I would download tools every now and then and think I was some sort of hacker, Cain and Abel, or some sort of a Python thing. I didn't know anything about what I was doing. I still don't know how to do really any of that. So I'm not.
But yet he writes a book about it. Anyway,
not claiming to be some sort of hacker or anything like that. But played a lot of games, and then would test things. Computer would break. Mom would be like, "You broke the computer. Fix the computer." So I would have to fix the computer. And then that kind of got into high school where there was some courses I didn't want to take, and they said, well, we can put you in a computer, repair class. It's a senior level course. And that was when I was a sophomore. And I was like, absolutely. So in there, being the only sophomore in a senior class, the professor, I was pretty much the only one who would do any work because I still had to stay in school and I wasn't graduating. So the teacher gave me lots of stuff, and I would repair computers and fix things around the high school. Which got my passion sort of fueling for that and burning. And so I went to college to become a computer engineer. Didn't quite like that, so switched over to computer management and just took off and kept building that out, fixing computers on the side, got into IT. First job was at a first real job, I guess, was at a tech startup after I graduated, where I did end-user support, desktop support, and just fix computers, I guess, around the office.
More official this time.
Yeah, more official, yeah.
So you now are getting paid to do desktop repair and support, yeah?
Yeah. Climb around on some floors, run some cables, do whatever was really needed. At that job, it was anything that really almost that had an electrical current pass through it. I was having to work. Like one time, it was like, hey, the dishwasher is not draining water. Can you take a look? And it was like, I guess I
can't get any worse.
Yeah, right. It's already broken.
Or maybe.
But that was just a cool environment to be in. A startup, they had a gym, a fully stocked bar, a kitchen, nice. Massages, haircuts, for a kid right out of college.
Absolutely.
It's the dream. And then left there and went into the coal industry where I was desktop administrator for them for a while. And then made a pivot into higher ed, and I've been in higher ed ever since. So probably a little over 10 years now. A few different universities, and then just kept stepping up through the ranks from a network and systems administrator to a manager of a help desk, director of IT, and then now here we are as CIO and CISO.
And we'll get into the CIO CISO conversation a little bit later, so I don't want to hit that as too fine a point. So along that journey, what attracted you to the higher ed space that you kind of decided is, I mean, it seems like that's kind of your place. That's where you want to stay. It's your vertical.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I was necessarily attracted to the higher ed space. I got recruited for a job at a university, doing, I had a very niche technology that I was very good at, SCCM for any who remember that on the Microsoft side. It's still around. But I was really good at that. So they needed someone to sort of administer that and run it. It was like I can't even think of the name anymore, but some sort of like end user engineer support type thing where I would go and build images and package stuff. So I went there and did that, and then kind of climbed up to sysadmin, network admin. And then when I left there, and I went to another higher ed because my predecessor, this previous CIO, asked me to go with him to another place. So I went because I really trusted him. He's sort of my mentor. So we left and worked somewhere else, and then ended up not liking it as much. And he moved on, and I moved on at the same time. And it just so happened that one of the places I'd worked wanted me to come back and take over his old role. So.
Nice. Love it. All right. So for the core piece of the show, is where is the CISO at? Where are we headed? Where do we need to head? What does our future hold? How do we need to evolve as a role? And so I think you're going to have a unique perspective, being that you have both titles. So if you would talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing in this space, where do we need to develop this role toward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, evolution is definitely needed. I think when you look at the CIO and the CISO, there's a sort of a conflict of interest in terms of what they want to protect. I see a lot of people talk about the CIA triad on that, where the CISO is only interested in confidentiality, maybe, and then the CIO is very interested in availability and maybe integrity to some extent. They kind of bounce on both of those, but there's a conflict there. And when you have the CISO reporting up to the CIO, there's issue on who gets precedence, and we have uptime for the CIO is important. Then I want to get my bonus, so I'm going to keep uptime, so taking things down to patch and blah 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 stuff we've always heard. For my role, I really like having both, because I can kind of dictate, like, hey, we're going to build security and we're going to put it first, but also we're going to make it make sense for when it needs to be available, and how our data is going to flow, and what and who's going to have access to it and things like that. So that evolution starts to come into play when you're looking at, well, does the CISO need to have more control over some of the infrastructure side of things? I mean, if they're beholden to patching, maybe they should have access to be doing that. And securing websites, how are applications being developed? Should they be coming through security and have that report structure there where the CISO can say, you're going to build this in first? So I think some of that needs to start changing over and going to the CISO, and maybe those two roles sort of combine. Maybe they both mutate, but definitely the CISO almost needs to evolve into the CIO role, but then where does that leave the CIO? So I don't have a great answer for that, but I do think some of that the CIO responsibility around infrastructure, patching, vulnerabilities, I mean, if that's your bread and butter, then that responsibility is going to have to shift.
And it over time, and I think there's more traditional shops, there's some less traditional shops, let's say, and maybe the less traditional shops, maybe the cloud first type shops, where you're having an abstraction of the IT side of things a little bit more, such as SaaS, right? Sure. Or, AI is, I think, accelerating that as well. Do you find that maybe down the road in kind of those areas, that's where that convergence may happen more or more readily, just because there's just not that traditional, I have to keep the lights on running as much, and or I have to develop that back office app because it's now SaaS, right? Yeah. Do you see that happen?
Yeah. I mean, I think in those instances where you have a really SaaS first company or cloud first company, it does make a lot of sense for the CISO to sort of be that top tier of the IT side, of the security side, because again, to your point, it's all kind of already built. It's just managed. Now we're just securing it. How does identity work for that? How do the website security work for that? And all of that is very, very security based. So flowing through the CISO, I think makes a lot of sense for them. But AI may change some of that stuff altogether too.
So true.
Do you know how many enterprises still depend on outdated workspace security or rely on MSPs as their first line of defense against phishing and ransomware? Checkpoint surveyed over 1,000 security leaders across the U.S. And now they're sharing those insights at the 2025 Workspace Security Insights Roadshow. Across 5 stops this fall, Denver, Jersey City, Houston, Atlanta, and Tysons, you'll hear what CISOs are saying about the gap between risk and readiness, whether Microsoft and Google's native defenses are enough, and how AI and automation can scale security for the future. Don't miss your chance to stay ahead of tomorrow's threats. Register today. You can register at engage.checkpoint.com/2025-workspace-security-insights-roadshow or follow the link in the show notes.
All right, so I want to shift a little bit. So typically I don't bring as much of my guests' outside world in, but in this case I had to because it's so interesting, and I think there's some, for lack of a better way to put it, meat on the bone. God, so dad joke, because you'll get it here in a second. You're big into wilderness survival, and so one of my first observations is typically somebody's as laid back as Zach is not usually the wilderness survival type. So I'm totally wrong on reading people, obviously, because you're like totally laid back. You know, a lot of times those guys are really intense. They're like, oh, whatever. So first off, let's just talk about what is wilderness survival. Give us an example of some of the things that you do in that pursuit.
Sure. I mean, before I jump into that, I'll add, like, on those shows like Naked and Afraid and Survivor, if you want to make it to like the end of the 30 days, it's best just to be laid back and just like lay around for 30 days. You don't burn calories and energy and stuff. You just kind of take it easy.
Pro tip right there.
So what is wilderness survival? So wilderness survival is taking a lot of skills known as bushcraft or survival skills, and going out and being able to how to make a fire out of sticks, or make a knife out of flint rock where you flint nap and make sharp edges and you can cut stuff. You set traps with tree saplings and cordage from bark or different stuff, making shelters out of leaves and sticks and stuff. So practicing those skills that like frontiersmen or mountaineers would have used, years and years ago.
Let me ask a question real quick, because now that you started talking about it, I'm like, I need to know more. How did you get into it? Like, is this one day you were like, oh, that sounds interesting, I want to go do that?
I think the farthest back I can remember on that was, I don't know, being sick one day in the summer and turning the Discovery Channel on, and Dual Survival was on.
Yeah,
and
I watched Dual Survival.
Yeah, Cody Lundeen and Dave Canterbury were on there early seasons, and they were just out surviving. And I mean, it's glamorized there because they got the Hollywood spin on it, but I don't know, I got kind of attached, and I was like, man, I want to go out and start a fire with sticks. That sounds pretty cool. And I've always kind of had the mindset of being sort of prepared for things, not necessarily a prepper mindset, but like have a plan B, have another plan. And so knowing like, hey, I might get stranded sometime, let's go out in these woods and try this stuff. I like camping, let's try to do it. So I don't know, I started watching a lot more videos, Man vs. Wild and Bear Grylls and all that, and then started absorbing some of that. But it was a few years later, actually, when I was at the tech startup, where I actually found a school that did wilderness survival in Missouri. So I was able to travel down there, and I've done several courses through there, from basic, intermediate, up to advanced in different levels, and just learned skills along the way that you got to practice.
That's awesome. So would love to hear maybe a real quick, interesting experience.
Well, to the meat on the bone joke, I guess the best one for that.
We didn't plan that, by the way.
Yeah. In an advanced course, so I was out for 14 days. And I didn't have hardly any gear with me. And I had set a trap, because you're trying to trap for food. You don't have any food with you. And one of those traps snared a fox. And the fox was dead when I found it. And being that was the only meat we had found, I took it and we skinned it with a flint rock. Again, the flint napping. You're trying to get all the fur off, and you're kind of trying to like process it, and then you cook it over the fire you made. And I tell you, it's pretty terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. It's a very it's like really bad, almost spoiled, rotten steak with fur. And it's burnt, and you burn it, because I was like, I don't know if this is any. I'm just gonna burn it.
Yeah, make sure
burn it. Well done.
Well done.
Yes.
Extra well done. Yes.
Yeah, it's terrible. I don't recommend eating fox.
What is the hardest part, besides obviously the food aspect? Like, you go out there, obviously preparedness is all about it, because I think there's translatable here, because we're not going to turn this into a wilderness survival show. But like, what is the hardest part? Is it fire? Is it shelter? Is it warmth? Is, like, what's the...
Yeah. A lot of people will tell you it's mindset, and when you're out there for a long period
Right.
of time, you are alone. I don't tend to have a problem with that. I kind of like it, the quiet. When I usually go out, it's February, March. I go out a lot of the time. It keeps me away from the mosquitoes and the ticks. If you're going to learn, might as well try to be comfortable. When you go out, though, in those times, it's definitely the cold. I mean, a couple of nights it would get down to like 19, 20 degrees, and you're in a shelter of twigs and leaves and sticks. So your body might, you can make your body very warm. I lay on warm rocks usually, but my face gets cold, and that wakes you up. Every 30 minutes, and the nights just go on so long, so long.
Yeah.
The rest of it I enjoy. I like making fire, and I like, getting water and finding something to purify water in is sometimes tricky, but there's tricks out there.
All right, so now we're going to bring it back full circle. Get away from being a wilderness podcast. Is there anything that you've learned doing the wilderness survival that you've like directly applied to cyber or IT for that matter?
Yeah, I mean, I think the two biggest pieces are, again, having a plan B. You always got to have another plan for something. Like, I don't have food. What are we going to do tonight? Like, let's get a bunch of wood. Like, and the fire's got to go all night, so let's build that up. And so that starts tying back into resilience as well. In security, we like to have, backups, primary, secondary, tertiaries. Like, all right, well, how are we going to stay warm tonight? We have a fire. We're going to heat rocks. We're going to put extra, leaves on it. Like, just different levels of preparedness to help you through difficult times to just make that a little bit easier. So it's always having multiple plans. If you bring tools, have a backup. Have a backup of your tools in case something breaks. Like, what's your next plan of action? And having that plan to sort of structure out, like, what you need to get through the day isn't very important.
Interesting. So it sounds to me like, I mean, this goes right into tabletops. This goes right into, not just the planning aspect, but just the practice as well, right? Because I guarantee the first time you made a fire, you're much better at it today.
Yeah, I mean, being out in the woods is almost like one giant tabletop scenario when you're preparing for the day when you get lost, you break down, like something catastrophic happens, and you actually have to apply those tools and those skills. So, I mean, we're just doing giant tabletop exercises every year.
Have you ever utilized what you've learned to kind of throw a curveball for your own tabletops? Or interesting, or you made it more,
Not really. Not the wilderness stuff. I keep trying to get the team to come out and do an outing with me, but none of them want to take me.
No takers.
Yeah, my boss and I are actually going to go out and do an overnight sort of boar hunt camp sort of adventure. That's about as close as I've gotten. I can't get anyone else to go out with me though.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to shift a little bit here. You have a book coming out in early 2026. Give us the rundown. Give us the title. Give us the kind of, the publishers and the authors notes real quick.
Sure. So in January 6th, Locked Up is the name of the book. We'll be releasing, and it is a real world sort of story of a ransomware incident that I worked through the university, and sort of everything we did before, during, and after the breach. I kind of scanned the market after working this incident, and we came out okay. It's not catastrophic. I don't want to spoil the book, but during that, I realized that we talk about it. There's sort of a mark of shame, a little stigma around talking about, breaches and incidents in the industry. People don't like to share that information. So you don't really have it captured in any book. Like there are books that talk about some of the high profile ones like Target or SolarWinds or something. But, ransomware attacks are increasing every year. We're all going to probably experience one at some point or the other. So how do you handle that? What goes into a decision-making process around that? Maybe someone doesn't have a robust leadership team, or it's just new to them. They just don't know. So I wanted to write something that kind of detailed what that is. So you go like, when you let your end users know, when you let the public know, how do you make that decision? Who makes that decision? Mm-hmm. Do you pay the ransom? Do you not pay the ransom? Do you know how to buy Bitcoin? Like, there's so many questions that you don't realize that even a tabletop doesn't even capture all of, like, which is what we found out. We have run tabletops. And then when we got into the actual incident, we realized that some of our thought process around that and some of our incident response around that wasn't quite right, and we ran into hiccups. So just detailing some of those lessons learned along the way, hoping to sort of help the industry navigate through what is becoming a more and more common problem.
So you talk about how it's at your current job that this took place. What type of journey did you have to get buy-in for you to be able to write this?
Cyber warfare isn't coming, it's already here, and AI is changing the battlefield. The 2025 Cyber Warfare Report from Armis uncovers how AI is being weaponized by nation-state actors and how forward-thinking organizations are using AI to fight back. This isn't just a report, it's your playbook for cyber resiliency in a world where attacks strike faster than ever. Download your free copy now using the link in the description of this episode or by visiting armis.com/cyberwarfare and stay one step ahead. Are you going to be at RSA Conference in San Francisco from April 28th to May 1st? Drop by and visit us at the North Hall booth N5457, where you can talk to our experts and win a prize, all while giving back to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Visit armis.com/RSAC2025 for more information.
So after the incident happened, I actually gave a presentation, I don't know, maybe 6 months after around the incident. And I sort of let the leadership team know that I was going to do this. And no one had any hesitation. No one really said anything, frankly. And I was kind of like, okay. Well, I'll take it. I mean,
keep moving the ball down the field, man. They're going to say no. I'm going to keep going.
Yeah.
Right?
And that spun into 2 or 3 or 4 more presentations. People were really enjoying it. They had lots of questions. Like every conference I was giving this at, the Q&A session would just go until they were like, we really got to stop, and I would keep getting questions afterwards. So I was like, man, I really want to do this. I don't like writing, but I think I can turn this into a book. So I actually found a writing coach. And reached out to him, and he started helping me sort of structure everything and outline it. And I wrote the first couple chapters and sent it off to Wiley, which was the first publisher I just picked. I have a bunch of their books at home, and I was like, I'll try Wiley. And they came back within a couple days, and they were like, we really love the idea of this. We want to see it. We're going to pitch it to our review team, and they did. And then actually one of the guys on the review team had seen me present about this before. And like the presentation,
helps.
I was like, all right, that helps. Cool. Yeah. So they signed on. We did a contract, and I just started writing. So I actually gave the contract to our legal, and I was like, can you review this contract? Like I'm going to be doing it. And, he signed off. He like, this looks good. And again, I was like, okay, that's good. I've not signed anything that says I can't talk. You guys have reviewed the contract. I've been doing the presentation. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Let's move forward full steam ahead. And now I'm obviously promoting it everywhere, talking about it, LinkedIn, so it's all over social, so it's known now.
So it's interesting. This is just, we kind of did our prep, but we didn't get this deep into it. So I find it fascinating that you just really didn't have any resistance. Not any, but obviously there was because I could imagine an organization would be like, whoa, like we at least need to look at this stuff, or
sure.
What do you plan? Did they get first? Right of refusal for what a chapter says, whatever. Do you think it's credited because they're an educational institution and they kind of get it in that vein? Is it the culture there? Can you attribute any?
There's definitely a culture of academic freedom there, which is a double-edged sword in some cases.
Yes.
I think also, we did a public disclosure when it happened. We let everyone know kind of what happened. And I think the outcome probably influenced it some. If it had been a lot more negative, or consequences had been higher in the incident, without spoiling the book, I think that would have changed significantly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with kind of the outsider looking in. What in the world? Obviously you gave us good reasons, but you still, you're writing a book. That's no small feat. What in the world possessed you to think that you were just I've never done this before. Here I go. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah. Well, I said, no one talks about this in the industry. It's kind of a mark of shame. So I'm trying to normalize it a little bit. I want to get that information out. But I'll tell you, man, I don't like writing. I still don't. My writing coach was like, give it a few weeks, 4 weeks. He was like, after 4 weeks of writing, you'll probably be okay.
Muscle memory, you're kicking it. Yeah.
And I've tried journaling. I've tried writing. And I was like, man, I hate this. I remember telling him chapter 5 or 6, I was like, oh, Leon, I still hate doing this, man. I don't like writing. And once the contract was signed, I had to do a chapter every 10 days. So you're forced into it. You have a very tight timetable. Like you're researching, you're getting your notes together, you're proofreading, trying to get it out the door. So it's like, don't do anything else. I have to do this. And you're forced to do something you really just don't want to do for months at a time until it's ready. But I don't know.
Passion project for sure.
Maybe
Seems like it.
partially a vanity project. but
Well, at least you're honest. I mean,
yeah, I mean, a little bit. It helps the brand at the end of the day. But again, it's information. I want information to go out to people, to have that. And now that it's out, I'm kind of like, I maybe have another idea or two in me. We'll see if we'll do it again.
but I think the other side of that goes to, you sit at a unique intersection. You were the responder. You were fully into it. If not you, then who? Right? A kind of idea. Who else could write it?
Well, I mean, there's that, and
provide the value that it could bring.
Yeah, and no one else is, and whether there's legal reasons behind that or company reasons behind that, no one has.
Right.
And when you're trying to sit down and think of an idea, a new idea, whether you're creating a company or writing a book or just generating some sort of new, anything, content, it's that unique idea that no one else has thought of, and when you find it, run with it.
And that's why we're sitting here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very similar.
Very similar stories, just a different media. Okay, so if we have some listeners out there that have like, man, I've been kind of thinking about writing a book about some experience in cyber or something like that, any advice that you would give them besides maybe hopefully like writing?
Well, I mean, they make there's ghostwriters you can pay. No, if you like writing, even if you don't, if you have an idea and you're passionate about it, and there's not a lot of content around that out there. I mean, if you want to write a sci-fi fiction book, I mean, there's 100 of them out there. You're going to have to be pretty unique to break into that space. So, at least in nonfiction and in business leadership, security, finding out that unique perspective, maybe it's different than the mainstream thought process, but getting it down and making sure you have enough content. I mean, you really need to. This book's like 300 pages, so you have to be able to fill that sort of content, something longer than a blog post or a couple newsletters or something like that. So, I mean, hey, go after what you want to do. Monetize it if you think it can help you. I'm not here to shoot down anyone's dreams, but
no, I was not taking the negative side. Actually, if anything, I think there's a pent up kind of maybe supply a little bit, and I think maybe getting people pushed over the edge a little bit by hearing that kind of your experience and what your process was.
Stretch those creative muscles that we don't always use day to day.
I think they say go do something very challenging. You're going to learn a lot about yourself.
You should always do something that's challenging. It's the best way to grow.
Speaking of the wilderness,
survival,
exactly.
Yeah, it really pushes you to that next level, and wherever your line used to be, where you were comfortable, it moves out a little bit further, and you can find out you can do a lot more difficult things. I think the Stoics actually say like everything is you can handle anything that comes to you until you can, then you die. So it's either bearable
or not,
or you die. So just bear through it all.
So, last question on the book right now. What's the biggest thing that you learned, whether it be about yourself or generally? Like, if you flash back to before you started and you go now, you're like, well, that's the biggest thing that just flipped for me.
Just sitting down and starting to write is hard. It's good to really outline everything. I learned that from my writing coach, is just sitting down and you start with, and there's like a flow to these things, and you want to leave every chapter just a little bit more, keep that cliffhanger to keep people writing, and there's like a whole flow to how books are written. So outlining that with some of the high points to get you to the next chapter is very important. I think that's like pre-book writing, and then post-book writing, you're not done when the book is done. There's just so much marketing and promotion that goes way more than I ever imagined was possible. And working with Wiley, the publisher, and I got a brand person who's giving me some coaching advice around that. And I've talked to some of my peers in the industry, even with Gary Chan, who's done some stuff with security mentalism. I think the promotion piece,
absolutely,
always selling yourself in a book is hard.
It is.
I like talking in front of people. I like being on podcasts, but when you're like, we need you to take some selfie photos of yourself doing stuff at home and post those.
You gotta tell me, man.
Oh, man,
my thing is, that's not the first thing in my mind.
Yeah,
that's part of the challenge. It's like that's just not how I typically live my life. And so, getting here and sitting and having a conversation in front of cameras, that's fine, right?
Yeah.
But to go, oh, wait a minute, I need to take a picture. Like I need, coming from the guy that's critical to the success of what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah, the brand lady I work with, she's like, you should be taking a few photos every day, keep them in an album, and just use them when you make posts. I'm like, that sounds terrible.
Sounds horrific to me. But yet there's some young college gal or guy that out there doing it every day just because that's what they want to do.
Yeah,
they're really good at it. Yeah, more successful than we are. Okay, so wrapping this up, I want you to pitch it for me. Name of the book, where are we going to be able to find it? And if you have a link, just send it to me and I'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Yeah. Locked Up. It will be available January 6th, 2026. You'll be able to find it on Amazon. It's available for pre-order right now at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, all your big book retailers. It'll be in the stores. It'll be on the shelves. I'll get a link out to Amazon if you want to pre-order. But absolutely.
And Kindle and all that stuff as well? Audio?
It'll be Kindle. Audiobook is being recorded right now. Audiobook should drop at the same time as the physical book. We are on schedule.
Is it you or is
it's
it something?
Not me.
Oh, come on.
Want me reading. Though I really wanted to, because man, you get in the car with your kids and your wife and you're like, let's put on a little light listening on this trip.
So I'm old and I have grandchildren, and they, like, my son will put up some of my stuff on the TV and they just lose their minds.
Yeah.
There's grand dude, just like, So anyway, okay. We'll put the link in the show notes. I think very valuable, and awesome. I'm looking forward to reading it myself. All right. So we touched on this a little bit in kind of your history, but you're both a CIO and CISO. Tell me about that process. Obviously, you grew up more in IT.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about the process of gaining that other title. What does it mean? How do you critically think about it? What would you communicate to people that may be approaching that space?
So I would argue I was a CIO first, and then coming into the university, the place I'm at now, I've been there in this role for about 5 years, but coming into it, realizing that there wasn't a security department, there wasn't a security program, there wasn't sort of any IT just always done the stuff, but there wasn't like a process, a plan, a strategy, or anything in place. So coming into there, I realized that we needed to do something. Cyber attacks are on the rise. I'm in a new role, trying to figure out what it is for me to be, a CIO, a head of IT, whatever you want to call it, and what I need to do. And so I'm hearing about security. I'm like, I've never really thought about this. Let's go do some learning. So I picked up a few books, ended up getting certified in, I don't know, pretty much everything that there was in the security side in the next couple of years. But understanding like what it meant to build a program, what frameworks were we use. We picked the CIS critical controls and started using that for our institution, which made sense at the time. And then implementing that, like, what's our strategy going to be over the next, year? Just let's start small. Like, none of us has ever done this. Like, I need some people to do this. Do I hire people? Do I get an MSSP to do some work? What sort of tools do they offer us? So again, a lot of training went into that. I did a lot of self-study for a long time. Again, a few years. I'm still learning, and as we all are every day. But and figuring out what the university needed, like where were our critical points. And after I did a bunch of that stuff, sort of set the strategy, built the program, did the pitch that, hey, we needed an official CISO and these were going to be the responsibilities. And they were like, well, budget-wise, we're a little strapped. Another C-suite's not kind of in the cards. Right. Is this something, you can do with what your current responsibilities are? I mean, I don't typically say no. Right. To things, much to my chagrin and reflection on that. Wearing two hats is sometimes a lot, but I think it's been a good pairing. I've got to really make sure security is kind of coming out of forefront, even through a ransomware incident, and that was very early in my tenure as figuring out security. But like, what happened there? How do we fix that? What were the weak points and build on that program? And you're going to have that even if you're the best security guy in the world. So it worked.
GuidePoint Security provides trusted cybersecurity expertise, solutions, and services that help organizations make better decisions that minimize risk. Their experts, from application security to vulnerability management, act as your trusted advisor to understand your business and challenges, helping you through an evaluation of your cybersecurity posture and ecosystem to expose risk, optimize resources, and implement best fit solutions. GuidePoint's expertise has enabled 40% of Fortune 500 companies and more than half of the U.S. government cabinet-level agencies to improve their security posture and reduce risk. GuidePoint has several more premier GPSec cybersecurity conferences happening around the country this year, and another full lineup being planned for 2026. Learn more about upcoming conferences, their services and technologies, and learn more at www.guidepointsecurity.com.
You already covered challenges. What are some of the unexpected things that you've discovered in kind of holding both hats? Like, what if I'm approached and say, "Hey, we want you to hit the CIO as well as the CISO," like what are some of the...
Yeah, I mean, budget's always a hard part. I noticed that my budget didn't grow much, if at all, when both of those were added. So you've pretty much added a whole new department, and now you're needing to buy tools that have, always been historically an IT cost, but now you're like, oh, I need a few security things too. I know more. Like, it's all in the same budget, and balancing that is fun. We started doing more reporting up to the audit committee too. So these aren't IT pitches anymore. These are security pitches. I have thoughts around reporting to the board, whether here or there, but that's a thing that occurs. You're starting to understand risk more, not just from a, hey, I need this technology to stay up, but like, how do we make sure the data inside of it's okay? Who's accessing it? Where's it going? And there's just more layers there that and you are working 2 C-level jobs that have 2 different distinct responsibilities and trying to fit it all into a 8-hour day.
Do you find that you put, quote, virtually put a hat on when you're dealing with certain things, or is it just kind of you regard things, see what I'm saying? Is it like, are you kind of role playing almost to some degree?
Probably at the beginning, there was more of that. I'm more comfortable now where it just happens. People will still be like, oh, people will still be like, oh, we need the security guy to, come in on this, or, oh, we need whatever. And it's like, I mean, okay, that's fine. I don't care. Right. But to me, it's just it just kind of flows together. It's all natural now. It's very, I'm very comfortable in it.
Couple next ones we're going to hit, not relatively quick enough, but just want to make sure that we give everything enough time. You started on the ground in IT, almost literally.
Yeah.
That's desktop support. How did that shape the executive leader that you are today?
Yeah, I was under a lot of desks.
Yes.
Sometimes you got to be under a lot of desks to climb the ladder.
A lot of dust. A lot of dust.
And I make that joke because when you're having to go under a lot of desks, sometimes there's people there, and you have to tell them like, "Hey, I'm going to be under your desk. I need you to move." And that starts a conversation, right? You can make a joke out of it, and again, this is very like light touch all the way up, but it's networking, it's conversations, it's meeting people. I think it's working a network, knowing people, helping them is very important. Always talk to people. I used to be more of an introvert. So sometimes I even still think I am, even though I'm doing this and I'm very out there.
Wouldn't have called that.
It's been an evolution over the years. But getting out there and talking to people, making them feel comfortable, making them laugh, I think is great for relationship building. I think that has been astronomically important to all things.
It's funny. I think some of the most senior leaders I've seen in very large organizations have very few trusted people, but I've seen that the desktop support person that has done well by them are one of the most trusted people that they have.
And they'll come to you for
that, and they will like literally trust and like speak to them as almost not quite a peer, but like literally like share stuff. You'd be like, that's crazy. I would never. I'd seen it multiple places, multiple times. It's fascinating to watch.
And when those people come to you, you want to help them. Like you've built this relationship where they've like, I don't know, not really put you on a pedestal, but they think of you higher, and you're like, I don't want to let them down. I really want to get this right and get it done for them.
Right. So what advice would you give for today's young professionals that are looking to kind of break into cybersecurity, if maybe they are that desktop or help desk, or like how would you, they want to go that path?
Again, meet people, talk to people, become friendly, build your network. I think one of the best lessons I learned, and I would tell you to do this, is just to ask questions, ask for things, whether it's like, hey, I'm a help desk guy, there's a SOC analyst job open or a security administrator job open. Go to your boss, be like, hey, I want to do that job. I want that, and just let them know, because a lot of times people just don't know. So if you can make a case, and you're competent, you do a good job. Usually, if there's something you want and someone can give it to you like this, like a role, they will a lot of time, and that's all you got to do is just ask. Ask to be on a podcast, ask to get a copy of that book, ask to, whatever it is, just ask the question. And if you're friendly and again competent, and you're working your network, it's probably going to happen.
Love it. All right, so our final piece before we get to 10 questions with Zach Lewis. You're quite active on social media, and we talked about that a little bit. And besides the obvious, which is obviously like you talked about promoting the book, what are your thoughts on CISOs being highly visible, or CIOs for that matter?
Yeah. Part of it's going to be what you want, right, out of life and what you're trying to achieve with your career. I'm of the mindset that building the brand is important, being recognized is important, because I don't ever want to be in a position where I have to go to LinkedIn or Indeed or something and apply for a job. Mm-hmm. I just don't want to do that ever. I want
this day and age, you typically don't get it that way.
Yeah, you don't. And the more people again, your network that you're growing, you're working with, things are going to come to you. And I want people to think of me, when an opportunity comes up and be like, hey, Zach might be a good fit for this. So I'm trying to build that brand that's recognizable, sort of thought leader. And if that's something you want to do, obviously, yeah, post. LinkedIn is becoming one of the hottest social media platforms for things like this. More CEOs are getting on there. More business owners are getting on there. I'm not dancing on TikTok or anything like that. You're not going to find me doing any of that. But I think having a presence is important. And if you don't have a presence and you're pretty shut off, that gives, malicious people or hackers or people a chance to masquerade as you and say things and not in your voice. I'm not as worried about that, but that is something in the back of some people's minds. So do it. I would say go for it.
And so let's look at this subject in the context of building community, right? We are typically relatively isolated as security professionals. So there's a lot we have to do, right? Mm-hmm. And you're deep in it most days. You have to make an effort, right? You have to get out a little bit. But how can we use it to where it's the advantages that we're all seeking, or the positives that we're all looking for, but it doesn't become, because we all know the social media warriors as well, right? Sure. That everybody kind of rolls their eyes at. So how do you balance that?
Yeah. I think there's, you can use the platform to share information about things that are going on. So I'm in a couple group memberships, InfraGuard being one of them, and we do a lot of community outreach, whether that's around romance scams or elder fraud. I think being able to post about that stuff and give people awareness around it is important. There's also just a humanizing piece. If you're always just talking security or always promoting, it's sometimes hard to relate to those people. So I'm not advocating to make it like the Facebook of the business world where you're posting stuff about your kids and what you ate and stuff, but hey, talk about a hardship you worked through at work or in your career, and how did it make you feel? How did you react to it? How did you get through it? I think some of those posts sometimes help people relate closely to you, and maybe they're going through something similar and they can see how you kind of dove through it, or maybe they reach out to you and you guys can talk about it or give them some ideas. So I think there's a value in that as well.
Love it. Okay. It's time for 10 questions with Zach Lewis.
All right.
What's your favorite word?
Facet. My wife's going to love that.
Okay. We'll mark this for bookmark it for your wife. What's your least favorite word?
Moist.
Yes. Okay. Nothing needs to be said. What area of your work do you find most interesting?
The working with people and interacting with people part.
What area of your work is the most challenging for you?
Printers. Always printers.
I laugh because higher ed, yes, always. Everybody prints. Yeah, and of course, the demand that you have for that is much higher than most places. Astronomical. Yes, I agree. What sound or noise do you love?
What's noise?
What sound or noise do you love?
The outdoors, crackling fire, crickets, insects chirping.
Doesn't surprise me. What sound or noise do you hate?
Children screaming.
What is your favorite curse word?
Shit.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I'd like to be a CIA assassin.
Okay. Now we're going to get the strikes. That's how that's going to work right there.
Over from here.
I kid, right? What profession would you not like to do?
Security mentalism. I only know one.
Listen to the previous episode. All right. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear your God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
My computer's broken. Will you take a look at it?
Because you're always going to be needed.
Always going
to keep you around.
Come on, gets me through the door.
Zach, I appreciate your time today, man. Thanks so much. What a great interview.
Great. Thank you very much. I
appreciate
it
that.
so
Appreciate
much.
that. All right, gang. Colleagues and friends, I renew the call. It's time to professionalize the role of CISO. In the meantime, I wish you health, happiness, and success in your journey becoming the professional CISO. Let's do this.
This is not meant for you to sit back in your seat. It's meant for you to sit on the edge of your seat. Topics will be ripped. They will be stripped for you to reflect and then select. That's what we do on the Professional CISO Show.